All right, so today we're diving into something that might not sound super exciting at first, the project charter, but stick with us because we're going to uncover why this seemingly simple document can be the difference between, project glory and utter chaos. I was part of this team once planning a big product launch, and we were all gung-ho ideas flying everywhere, but somewhere along the way, things started to unravel. Deadlines were missed, budgets ballooned, and we ended up with a Frankenstein product nobody was happy with. Looking back, it was like setting off on a cross-country road trip without a destination, or even a full tank of gas. And that's where our expert comes in. They've navigated the wild world of project management, witnessed incredible triumphs, and I'm sure a few faceplants along the way. So let's unravel the mysteries of the project charter and why it's the unsung hero of successful projects.
You're spot on with that road trip analogy. It's tempting to just jump in and start driving, but without that clear roadmap, you're bound to get lost. And in project management, getting lost translates to wasted time, resources, and ultimately project failure.
Okay, so let's break it down. For those who haven't spent their days wrestling with Gantt charts and stakeholder meetings, what exactly is a project charter?
Think of it as the project birth certificate. It officially authorizes the project, gives the project manager the authority to, actually manage, and outlines the big picture goals and the path to get there.
A birth certificate, huh? So it's not just some dusty document, it's like the official stamp of approval saying this project is a go.
Exactly. It brings everyone together on the same page from the very beginning, aligning expectations and preventing those dreaded, wait, I thought you were handling that, moments down the line.
That sounds incredibly useful, actually. But I'm curious, isn't there some value in spontaneity, leaving room for creativity and adjustments as you go along?
Absolutely. But that's where the beauty of a good project charter comes in. It's not about being rigid or stifling creativity. It's like stretching before a workout. You need that foundation to support you, but you also need the flexibility to move and adapt.
Okay, I like that. It's like a framework, not a straitjacket. So we've got this framework, this birth certificate. How do we actually go about creating one? Are we talking formal templates, brainstorming sessions with sticky notes, or something else entirely?
There's no one-size-fits-all approach. Some organizations are all about those official templates, like the ones from the Project Management Institute. Others thrive on a more free-flowing collaborative approach, maybe with whiteboards and brainstorming sessions. And sometimes a good old-fashioned mind map can do wonders.
So it's adaptable to different team dynamics and project styles, but regardless of the approach, what are the core elements, the must-have ingredients of a solid project charter?
The essentials are pretty straightforward. You need a clear project purpose, the why behind the whole endeavor. Then you've got your objectives, the specific measurable goals you're aiming to achieve. Scope is crucial too, defining the boundaries of the project, so everyone knows what's included and, just as importantly, what's not included.
Right, because scope creep is a real thing, and I'm guessing a well-defined project charter can help keep that monster at bay.
You bet. It's like drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is what we're tackling. And anything beyond this needs to be reevaluated and potentially added to the scope, but not just creep in unnoticed.
Love it. So we've got purpose, objective, scope. What else?
You need to identify your key stakeholders, everyone who has a vested interest in the project's success. And of course, you need to outline the project manager's authority, what decisions they can make, what resources they can access.
Okay, so we're talking about who's involved, who's calling the shots, and what they have the power to do. Makes sense.
And then there are the nitty-gritty details, budget estimates, timelines, and a realistic assessment of potential risks, constraints, and assumptions. Those pesky what-if scenarios that can throw a wrench in the works.
So it's not just about laying out the ideal scenario, it's about anticipating potential roadblocks and having a plan to navigate them.
Exactly. A good project charter doesn't just paint a rosy picture. It acknowledges the potential for storms and helps you prepare for them.
This is making the project charter seem less like a boring document and more like a strategic weapon against project disaster.
That's a great way to put it. It's a tool that can help you avoid pitfalls, make informed decisions, and ultimately increase your chances of success.
But with so much information packed into this document, how do we make sure it doesn't become overwhelming and confusing? I mean, nobody wants to wade through a novel-length project charter, right?
You're absolutely right. Brevity and clarity are key. Think of it like a concise, well-written recipe, not a rambling food blog post.
So no epic sagas, just the essential ingredients and instructions. But how do we achieve that elusive balance between conciseness and comprehensiveness?
That's where stakeholder involvement comes in. Getting input from everyone who has a stake in the project, not just leadership, helps ensure you're capturing the essential details without getting bogged down in unnecessary minutia.
So it's a collaborative effort, not just a top-down decree.
Exactly. And that collaboration is crucial for getting buy-in from the very beginning. Because as you know, a project charter without stakeholder support is like a car without an engine. It's not going anywhere.
Right, it's all about alignment and shared understanding from day one. But speaking of buy-in, let's talk about the elephant in the room, getting leadership on board. How do we present this meticulously crafted project charter in a way that resonates with busy executives and secures their coveted approval? So we got this awesome collaborative document. It's concise, it's got everyone's input. But now it's time to face the executives. How do we avoid overwhelming them with information and really get that crucial buy-in?
You hit the nail on the head. Conciseness is absolutely key here. Remember, executives are busy people. They want the key information to show what's presented clearly and succinctly. Think elevator pitch, not epic novel.
Okay, no Tolstoy-esque project charters, got it. But what about those potential objections? The why are we spending money on this? Or is this really a priority? Questions that inevitably come up.
Anticipating those objections is crucial. Put yourself in their shoes, think about the questions they might ask, and address them head-on in your presentation. It shows you've done your homework and you're thinking strategically about the organization's needs.
So it's about proactively addressing those concerns, not just hoping they won't come up.
Exactly. And remember, it's not just about presenting the problem or the project idea. It's about showcasing the value, the return on investment. Why should they care? How will this project contribute to the organization's strategic goals? Answer those questions up front.
It's like, here's the problem, here's how we're going to solve it, and here's why it matters to you and the bottom line.
That's the winning formula. You need to connect the dots for them, make it clear how this project aligns with their vision and priorities.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, before we dive into common pitfalls, I'm curious about something. We've talked a lot about creating the project charter and getting buy-in. But what about once the project is actually underway? Does the project charter just get filed away and forgotten?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's a mistake I see happen all too often. A project charter isn't just a starting point. It's a living, breathing document that should guide the project throughout its life cycle.
Wait, really? I kind of pictured it as a static document set in stone once it's approved.
That's a common misconception. Think of it more like a roadmap. You have your planned route, but sometimes you encounter detours or unexpected obstacles. A good project charter allows for flexibility and adjustments along the way, while still keeping you grounded in the overall goals and objectives.
So it's adaptable, like a chameleon changing colors to blend in with its surroundings.
Exactly. Things change, priorities shift, new information emerges. You need to be able to adjust your course without losing sight of your destination. And that's where regular reviews and updates to the project charter come in.
So it's not just a one-time thing, it's an ongoing process.
Absolutely. Regularly reviewing the project charter helps ensure everyone stays aligned even as things evolve. It can also be a valuable tool for conflict resolution. When disagreements arise, you can refer back to the charter to see what was originally agreed upon and make informed decisions based on the project's goals and scope.
That sounds incredibly helpful, especially when you've got multiple stakeholders with different perspectives and priorities. It's like having a neutral third party to help navigate those tricky situations.
That's a great way to put it. The project charter can be that objective voice of reason, reminding everyone of the shared vision and helping to steer the project back on course when things start to veer off track.
Okay, this is all starting to click. But I have a feeling there are some common pitfalls, some mistakes people often make when it comes to project charters. Can you share some insights based on your experience? Those facepalm moments where you think, oh no, they didn't.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen my fair share of project charter blunders over the years. One of the biggest traps is being too vague. It's like writing food on your grocery list instead of specific items. You might end up with a pantry full of snacks, but no real ingredients for a decent meal.
So a vague project charter is like a recipe for disaster.
Precisely. You need clearly defined objectives, deliverables, and success criteria. What are you actually trying to achieve? How will you know if you've succeeded? Answering those questions up front is crucial.
Makes sense. So no more wishy-washy statements or vague goals. Got it. What other mistakes should we be wary of?
Another common pitfall is excluding key stakeholders from the process. Remember, a project charter isn't just a document for the project manager and leadership to hash out in a closed room. It needs input from everyone who will be impacted by the project, from the team members doing the work to the end users who will be using the final product or service.
Right. It's all about that collaborative spirit we talked about earlier. But I can see how it might be tempting to just keep the circle small, especially in the early stages.
I understand that impulse, but trust me, it's a recipe for trouble down the line. When people feel like they haven't been consulted or their input hasn't been valued, they're less likely to be invested in the project's success. And that can lead to resistance, delays, and ultimately a less successful outcome.
So it's not just about being nice or inclusive. It's about strategically engaging stakeholders to ensure buy-in and ultimately a smoother project journey.
Exactly. And speaking of journeys, one of the biggest mistakes I see is rushing the project charter process. It's tempting to just want to get it done and move on to the real work. But remember, taking the time to develop a thoughtful and comprehensive project charter is an investment that pays off in the long run.
It's like skipping the warm-up before a workout. You might save a few minutes up front, but you're more likely to get injured and ultimately set yourself back.
That's a great analogy. Rushing through the project charter process can lead to misaligned expectations, missed deadlines, and costly rework later on.
So slow and steady wins the race, at least when it comes to project charters. But I'm curious, what about when things inevitably change during the project? We've talked about flexibility, but how do you actually go about revising the project charter without creating chaos or undermining its authority?
That's where effective communication and change management come in. You need to establish clear processes for proposing changes, evaluating their impact, and making informed decisions about whether or not to incorporate them into the project charter. And remember, any changes to the charter should be documented and communicated to all stakeholders.
So transparency is key. No sneaking in changes under the radar.
Exactly. Keeping everyone in the loop helps build trust and ensures everyone is working from the same playbook even as the game plan evolves.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about what a project charter is, why it's important, how to create one, how to get buy-in from leadership, and even how to use it effectively throughout the project lifecycle. But before we let you go, I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about something that I think is incredibly fascinating. We've been discussing project charters in the context of, well, projects, but what if we think about this concept a bit more broadly?
I like where you're going with this.
Right, because the core principles of a project charter, clarity, alignment, purpose, those are valuable in so many aspects of life, not just formal work projects.
Absolutely. Think about planning a family vacation. You've got multiple stakeholders, your family members, different priorities and preferences, a limited budget, and a finite amount of time.
Oh man, I can already see the potential for conflict.
Right. But imagine if you sat down as a family and created a mini project charter for your vacation. You'd outline your goals for the trip, define your budget and timeline, and even anticipate potential risks and challenges.
So instead of just winging it and hoping for the best, you're approaching it with a more structured and strategic mindset.
Exactly. And that can make a huge difference in the overall success and enjoyment of the experience.
Or think about organizing a volunteer event. You've got a team of volunteers, a specific goal you're trying to achieve, and limited resources.
A project charter can be incredibly valuable in that scenario as well. It helps ensure everyone is on the same page working towards a shared vision and using time and resources effectively.
I'm starting to see project charters everywhere now. It's like a secret weapon for tackling any complex endeavor, big or small, work-related or personal.
That's the beauty of it. It's a versatile tool that can be adapted to so many different situations. And the best part is it's not about creating a rigid bureaucratic process. It's about bringing clarity and intention to your efforts, which can lead to greater success and, honestly, less stress along the way.
This has been an incredible deep dive. I feel like we've not only demystified the project charter, but we've also uncovered its hidden potential as a tool for navigating life's complexities.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, the project charter is just a starting point. The real magic happens when you take those principles of clarity, alignment, and purpose and apply them to your own unique situations.
So to our listeners out there, we challenge you to think about how you can use the concept of a project charter to bring more structure and intention to your own endeavors, whether it's planning a big project at work, organizing a community event, or even tackling that long overdue home renovation. And if you found this deep dive valuable, we'd love for you to share it with your friends, colleagues, or anyone who might benefit from a little project charter enlightenment. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the surprisingly fascinating world of project charters. Until next time, keep diving deep.